My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. Cold readings. It is a phrase that is often said by people who want to criticize psychics and psychic mediums, who say that psychic mediums are fake because they do cold readings mostly. And so I wanted to chat in this episode about what exactly do cold readings look like? What do they feel like when you're a client and a psychic is doing a cold reading on you? And why cold readings are just not cool. And I will share with you some examples of what can contribute to a cold reading. And I want to go over three things with you. Your name, and then I'll get that. I'll explain in what circumstances. In-person readings, virtual readings, where these things happen that I'm about to go through these three things. Number one, your name. Number two, your body language. And number three, your physical setting, if you are especially virtual on camera. So I just first want to say that there are many things that a psychic medium can pick up on in a reading that have to do with circumstances in your life, biographical details, and they may be things that appear on your body as jewelry or that appear in your room in your virtual camera on Zoom or whatever platform the psychic is using to do a reading. But the key to a very powerful psychic reading or mediumship reading is bringing things up that the psychic would not otherwise know about or notice about you, because that's going to validate the messages that are coming through. If I say to you, well, no, actually, I won't go there yet because I don't want to mix up my examples. So let's go in order, like I said. So let's start with your name. Let's say you book an in-person reading with me, and I know that your name is Richard Falcone. That's actually an Italian name that I'm familiar with. Your name is Richard Falcone. Now, I may recognize Falcone as an Italian name, and based on the tradition in our culture, men who carry the family name, I imagine that is a name. I'm going to assume that's not a name that Richard adopted through a marriage. It's the name he was born with. So I'll say, I feel an Italian grandmother here. And that is a way that I could be cold reading Richard because of his last name. Are you Italian? Well, I mean, that's kind of a dumb question to ask. I bet Richard would be like, duh. But let's say I see an older woman cooking a lot of pasta. Like she was really the pasta maker in the family. That's something that can pretty easily be deduced through his last name. Whether he puts down his full name when he does an in-person reading with me, or I see his full name as his name on the Zoom call as his participant name. And when things happen in a way that, like when I'm in a reading with somebody and I feel spirit telling me something about that person, and I notice that it could be something that could come across as cold reading, I would tell Richard, Richard, I see your last name and it sounds Italian to me. Is that right? He says, yes. I'll say, well, this could be influenced by seeing your name or knowing your name before the reading, but I do feel an older grandmother who's really cooking a lot of pasta. Now, I know that any psychic could say that looking at your last name and knowing that you're Italian. So let me ask grandma, let me ask this older woman if there's something else she can give to me to validate that it's her. That to me is good psychic work, because the goal is to leave the client knowing that their loved ones are with them. And if I say something that I could just guess through either through the name on the Zoom or the name he put down when he booked the reading, that's not really validating. Anyone can do that, or anyone could do good guesswork based on his last name. So that's number one, your name. So when it comes to booking readings, if the psychic allows you to do this, I would just put a last name initial. Now, don't get so hung up on this, because if you give your full name, it's not like the psychic isn't going to do a good job doing the reading. But you want to expect the psychic to do more than just say things that they could easily get from knowing your name. So if you want to do Richard F as your name, the name you put down when you book a reading or on your Zoom participant name, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's fine. But if you happen to have your full name and it's known to the psychic, it's not the end of the world. Just, you will be the judge. You will be the judge as to whether that psychic is legit for you, because you'll see what kind of reading they'll give you and whether they're going to deduce or guess something based on your name. Number 2 is body language. This is one that is very, very common, whether it's in-person readings or virtual readings. So let's say that I tell you I have an older man here and I feel like he's a father figure. Do you have a father who's passed? And you say, yes. And then you tilt your head in a way that kind of says to me, I don't want to hear from him. So then I say, your father is telling me that you don't feel very comfortable with him and that he wants to say he's sorry. That could have been influenced by me seeing how you react when we bring up your father, because I'm making an assumption that you did not have a good relationship with your father through the way that you tilted your head and made a face. That is a cold reading. Another thing is, let's say that you are wearing, I'm going to include the clothes you wear in under the umbrella of body language. Let's say you're wearing a flowery dress. And I say, your grandmother's telling me that you're a very jovial person. You love bright colors and you love nature. And I say all these things because I'm looking at your flowery dress. And then you say, oh my God, yeah, that's exactly what my personality is like. It's just like that. Well, anyone could guess that based on a pretty flowery dress. And I'm thinking of a white dress with like sunflowers on it. That's what comes to mind for me. There are many different types of flowery dresses, some that are dark colored, but I'm making an assumption based on this really summery, spring colored dress that you are a jovial, happy person that loves nature and you love flowers. Cold reading, cold reading, cold reading. Another thing is, let's say someone's hair is done really, really well. They have it really properly groomed, brushed. They look like styled to a T. And I say, I get this vibe in a psychic reading. I get this vibe that you are someone that really pays attention to your appearance and you like to take care of your body. Oh my God, yeah, that's so me. Well, I could have easily assumed that based on how good someone's hair looks in a reading. So these are ways of reading someone's body language. Coldly reading. I don't know. This is a way of cold reading. So it's important when a psychic does not do that, because it's too easy. It's too easy. And again, I'm going to bring it back to this. I'm going to say it again in a few minutes. The goal for a psychic in a reading is to bring things up that are not obvious to the naked eye. Number 3, we've gone through your name and your body language, including your clothes. Number 3 is your physical setting. Now, this is a little more relevant when it comes to online readings on video, but it could also be if you happen to, and I don't really suggest this, but you have a reading in your house, you bring a psychic over, unless it's a psychic you really trust or a medium you really trust. You have a psychic medium over at your house, or you're doing it on Zoom and they can see your home. I have had many instances in a reading when I'm on Zoom and I see the person's decorations behind them, and a part of me wants to assume a bunch of things based on what I see in their home. And I have to tell myself, nope, you're not Like, don't bring that up unless spirit tells you it's very important. Don't bring up that statue behind them. Don't bring up that picture behind them unless it's very important. And I tell myself, breathe with it and see what spirit tells you that is not in the room. But if spirit wants me to mention a picture behind them, I will say, spirit is directing me to that picture behind you. And then I ask spirit to share another bit of information about that picture, or another bit of information about the soul that's coming through in general, related to that photo maybe, to validate who's coming through and that they're there with us. I don't just rely on the picture in back of the client in their camera. And that's me trying to push myself to do more than just assume based on what's in the room. Another thing that can come up is the color of somebody's walls. If someone has pink walls, spirit is telling me, and the cards are telling me that you have a very vibrant personality and you love bright colors. And now if I were the client, I'd be like, well, girl, you can see my room, right? It's pink. Like, anyone could guess that. Again, cold reading based on your physical setting. And again, I keep saying again. I'm going to keep repeating myself because it's important. The psychic has to bring forward validating information that is not easily available through the naked eye, or by watching you on camera or watching you in front of them. And actually, a psychic medium and other kinds of psychics, I mean, I don't want to say should, but I think a lot of us can close our eyes and read for you, and actually might be even more accurate because we're not distracted by the things that are in front of us. Because then our ego kicks in. Our ego wants to grab at things like, oh, they're wearing that dress. Oh, they have that picture hung up. Oh, they have that cuckoo clock. I don't know. I picked the cuckoo clock for some reason to mention. They have that cuckoo clock in the corner of the room, and we want to grab at information based on what we're seeing. That's the ego, in my opinion, usually, unless spirit directs us to those things that we're seeing as mediums and psychics. But it's important that you pick up on these things, because we got to call it out. We got to call it out if it just seems like someone is looking at our surroundings and our body language or our names, and someone's making assumptions based on those things and passing it off as psychic intuition, when it's not really intuition at all. It's just, I'm looking at you and your surroundings. When it comes to your physical setting on Zoom, you're more than welcome to blur your background. There's nothing wrong with that. And the same thing that I said with body language or with name, you can hide your last name if you want to. You can wear generic clothes to not give anything away. You can blur your background on your camera. But you don't have to do that, because a good psychic will do more than just look at you and your surroundings or your name. They will push themselves to get evidence, to get information that is validating for the reading. So a lot of the times, skeptics will say that, and I've seen this with Teresa Caputo, comments under videos of her on YouTube, that, oh, she's cold reading. And it is a phrase that is used a lot by skeptics to blame psychics for being fake, or to paint psychics as fake. And I do believe there are definitely psychics who cold read all the way and are not very honest about their abilities, or honest about the fact that they are cold reading. But I've seen Teresa Caputo work in person quite a few times, in a group setting, in a theatrical setting, and it's not, she was not cold reading, I can tell you that. And when she brought up something that was on the person's body, or that was obvious based on their body language, she got spirit to bring up something else that is not visible in front of her, to validate what she had just been saying about whatever it is, the necklace on their body or whatever it is. And I think that is what makes a good psychic, a good medium, is that we push ourselves. It's when we push ourselves to I can't even call it the extra mile. To me, that is just what we should be doing. And just settling as a psychic for what's in front of my eyes and assuming information based on that. It's it's scammy. It's not cool. So hopefully this helps you to pick up on when these things happen. And you don't have to, this is your prerogative because you're the one paying for a reading, but you don't have to call out a psychic and say, hey, are you cold reading me? I would just ask a psychic if you notice them doing this. If you notice them cold reading, just say, my walls are pink, so I can see how you can pick up on the fact that I'm a very vibrant person. I am a very vibrant person, but is there anything else that you're getting about my personality? Or, what you said about my father, you could probably tell that I just made a face. What else could you tell me about my father? I'm curious to hear what he has to say. And that is a kinder way of pushing a psychic, because not all psychics have bad intentions. Not all psychics have good intentions. Some psychics just have more development to do. We all have more development to do, but some psychics have more learnings to do. And those are gentle, kind reminders. It's not a way of saying, hey, you're cold reading me. What the hell? Unless you really want that kind of confrontation, but I don't recommend it. So this is how you can pick up on these things. I hope this helps. I hope it's a helpful, tip-filled podcast episode for you. And I will see you on the next one. Take care. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.